Believe it or not, both Skyrim and Dark Souls 1 both released less than a month apart from one another back in 2011. And there has been no shortage of Dark Souls inspired mods for Skyrim since that time. But today, I discovered something that I don't think a whole bunch of people knew existed. And that's an entire port of Dark Souls 1's world into the Skyrim engine. And I mean, entire world. Rudolph's Dark Souls Alpha is so far a 3-month-old project made by just one modder that brings the land of Lordran to Skyrim, from the homely abode of Firelink Shrine, all the way up to the epic heights of Anor Londo, and well, everywhere in between. The mod also adds the Painted World, the Undead Asylum, and even the DLC world space. It's pretty nuts just how much has been created in such a small time frame, and after speaking to the author myself, they claim that it's only part 1 of 3. Part 1 focuses on bringing the world into the game, Part 2 adding enemies and bosses, and Part 3 followers and companions. And if you're wondering why you haven't heard of this seemingly momentous project, that's because it isn't even one of these huge projects such as Skyblivion or Skyros. It's just one dude that thought it would be cool and liked modding enough to give it a shot. But enough of describing the big picture, I wanted to actually give you guys an insight into each of these areas because they are just so cool to see in the Skyrim engine. You start in the Undead Asylum, the tutorial area for the game. Here you'll instantly be familiar with the layout and locations because it's near identical to Dark Souls. Areas like the Bonfire Courtyard, the broken cell that you pick up your first Estus Flask, the Asylum Demon boss room, and of course the clifftop walkway up to the giant crow that takes you to Firelink Shrine. Now when you arrive at Firelink Shrine, you'll start to notice the small things that make a project like this feel so cool to have in the Skyrim engine. I mean, the simple things like being able to have a full day and night cycle around these locations is really cool considering you're only used to seeing each area of Lordran in specific environmental times dependent on what the developers thought it best suited. And of course, with EMB and other general Skyrim mods, they really shine in a different light than we're used to seeing them, quite literally. From Firelink Shrine you have two options, either progress upwards to Undeadburg, or descend down past the graveyard to the Catacombs, which is home to tight dark passageways and skeleton-infested caverns, even giving a sneak peek into the flaming city of Lost Izalith, before descending deeper into the dark abyss. The Catacombs is a dark and treacherous area of Dark Souls 1, located beneath the graveyard of Firelink Shrine. It's a labyrinth network of narrow passageways, hidden traps and deadly enemies, filled with the bones of long-dead warriors and necromancers who continue to animate the dead. As players progress through the catacombs, they'll eventually come face to face with the boss of the area, Gravelord Nito, who, like all the other bosses in this port, currently are just static meshes. But in part 2, the mod author plans to implement them into the game so you can enjoy fighting them in Skyrim. Despite its many dangers, the catacomb holds many secrets and treasures for those who are brave enough to explore it. Hidden areas, secret passages, and powerful weapons and spells can be found all within its dark, foreboding depths. However, returning back to the surface is Undeadburg. Undeadburg is the first areas that players encounter in Dark Souls 1, and it serves as sort of a tutorial for the game's mechanics. It is a walled city filled with undead. The area is characterized by its narrow streets and alleys, which are often blocked by debris and barricades. As you progress through Undeadburg, you will encounter various obstacles and enemies, including the Hellkite Dragon, which guards the bridge leading to the Undead Parish, and remains one of the game's most memorable areas. And I know you want to see it, so below this area lies Blighttown, which is one of the most infamous and challenging areas in Dark Souls 1. Located deep beneath the city of Undeadburg, it is a festering pit of disease, decay, and poison, filled with rickety wooden walkways, toxic sludge, and swarms of deadly creatures. The area is known for its difficult platforming segments, which require precise jumps and careful navigation to avoid falling to one's death. At the bottom of Blighttown lies Quelaag's Domain, the lair of Quelaag, the boss of the area. With its harrowing atmosphere, Blighttown and Quelaag's Domain remain some of the most memorable areas in Dark Souls 1, and furthermore lead us deep into the ruins of Lost Izalith, an underground, lava-infested city, which is a little work in progress in this port, but still really gets me excited to see future updates to this mod, especially knowing that all of this only took 3 months so far. And something I'm even more excited to see finished is at the base of the very world itself, past the winding rooted path leading deep under the earth, lies Ash Lake, a hidden area with a vast, open space with towering arch trees and deep waters. Obviously the assets aren't fully complete here, but you can see where this place is heading and really captures the feeling that you get when you come here in Dark Souls. Finally, in the lower area of Lordran, we have Sen's Fortress, which is currently also a work in progress, which leads up past the Great Wall, revealing the most impressive area in this mod, Anor Londo. Anor Londo is one of the most iconic locations in Dark Souls 1, a city that rests high above the rest of the world. It is a place of grandeur and majesty, where the sun never sets and the stars are always bright. Upon arrival, the player finds himself standing on a wide bridge leading into the city, flanked by towering statues and lit by a brilliant sunset. Anor Londo is a city of contrasts, with grandiose architecture and sweeping vistas juxtaposed with treacherous traps and deadly enemies. The city is made up of towering spires and glittering towers, with massive, intricately carved doors leading to hidden chambers and secret passageways. And just like in Dark Souls, your main area of interest within this great city is the throne room at the heart of the palace. The throne room is a marvel of architecture with towering columns and sweeping arches, framing a massive, ornate throne with everyone's favourite chest ahead. Atop the cliffside overlooking Anor Londo lies the Duke's Archive and Crystal Caves, two interconnected areas located in the game's later stages. The Duke's Archive is a towering library fortress inhabited by the sorcerer Seath the Scaleless, while the Crystal Caves are a network of crystal caverns located beneath the Archive. The Duke's Archive is an imposing structure that is home to the ancient knowledge of the land of Lordran. The archives are filled with countless shelves of books, scrolls and other artifacts, and at the top of the Duke's Archives lies the chamber of Seath the Scaleless. Below the Duke Archives lies the Crystal Caves, a labyrinth network of glittering caverns filled with crystal formations and treacherous pitfalls that lead down to the boss room in which Seath lies. Personally, the Duke's Archive is actually probably my favourite location ported in this mod just because of the atmosphere it gives, and we've really not ever got anything like this in an Elder Scrolls game, so it's really cool to see it in the engine. And I mean, there's a million different areas in this mod. If you've played Dark Souls 1, you can go through and see them yourself. But the final area I'm going to shine a spotlight on in this video is the Kiln of the First Flame. Located beyond the Lord Vessel, it is a desolate, ashen wasteland where the fading embers of the First Flame burn low, and where the player would ultimately face Gwyn, the final boss of the game. With this area along with everything else I've shown you in this video, I think it's safe to say that the scope of this mod is immense, and just for 3 months work, it's especially insane. I will leave a link to the author's Twitter page in the description if you want to check out his work, along with keeping up to date with the updates to come. Be sure to drop them a follow, and in speaking to him while making this video, in his words, don't forget the classic, learn new things, develop, make mods, enjoy the little things, and let there be peace. With that being said, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed this, I might make follow-up videos covering part 2 and 3 as they're released, but other than that, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. If you're in the market for a new PC, then check out my page over at Apex Gaming PCs, where you can choose from 3 different tiers, designed after the specs my PC has to run modded Skyrim. Use code BURNS at checkout for 5% off your purchase, which when making an expensive buy like a PC can save a decent chunk of change. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.